unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even in my worst moments, like her at that time, just being a friend and saying, "Well, this is awful. I'm gonna pray for you, but you gotta get off my phone right now. I can't."
I can't
Right?
even like listen to you because like
Yeah,
you're not
yeah,
in your right mind, and I don't need you contaminating mine. Because like after a while you're gonna like try to rationalize for the person because
yeah,
you care about them, and
hmm yeah,
you
yeah. And
sound like somebody I know though. Like,
I feel so sad. That's a story that probably can be told by a great many of different men,
yeah.
right? And it's so funny the rules when you talk about what the brain can trick itself into believing, right?
Hmm.
There's this old study where you put these goggles on and then inverse your vision, and they took these college kids in this study like 2 or 3 days before they just saw that like the regular world. They were
Yeah.
able to function, they were able to read, write, drink, cook, everything with their vision inverted.
Looked up. Yeah.
Yeah. The first 3 days they had a partner, someone to help them out. After
Mhm.
that, the brain just says, "Okay, this is life. Let's do it."
Yeah. We
That's the
we
brain,
we adapt. Yeah.
right?
Ex-
Right.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
you
That's
think about
deep.
what the brain can trick you into believing. Here was my code, right? Oh, I'm not going to be a bad guy. I'm going to tell every woman I'm involved with that I don't want a relationship. I
Yeah.
just want sex, or we
Yeah.
can just hang out as friends. Whatever you choose is fine with me, right?
Right.
So because I made that rule, everything I did after that was okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The women, when they would get upset, it was like, "Hey, I told you from the beginning." They're like, some women appreciated that,
Mhm.
some women didn't.
Right.
But in
Right.
my mind, I'm doing the right thing by being completely transparent. I'm not out here like a player trying to trick
Right.
women. Like I'm being very transparent. Like that's the kind of thing, the tools that the enemy can use to make you feel comfortable in your discomfort. Because that
Right.
was a young man when I look back who was deeply hurt and felt betrayed by family, friends, everybody he thought was on his side.
Yeah, because what really betrayed you too, like we really put the nail on, you already went through this experience that you have no clue on how to interpret it. You come home and they say, "Well, we knew you weren't going to make it anyways," and that probably is like the
Man,
how you gonna take how could you
like,
say that to me? Like
like
I've hung on every word that you say. I believe you. I trust you as family. And this is how you really feel about me, man.
Jamie, Jamie, people gave me money. I got free haircuts. This is upon the announcement of my scholarship.
Yeah,
I haven't even got to Vanderbilt yet,
yeah.
and people gave me everything. I had when I graduated, I had one of my teachers give me a
What?
car, Jamie, a car. Right? It
That
wasn't a
is
brand new car, but for a person with nothing, that was huge.
that
This
is
person
huge.
gave me a car. People were giving me money and all kinds of gifts, and I can go anywhere and eat. I go out to eat, and people are like, "Oh, don't worry about that." No, sir.
And then
Like
the church is calling it blessings.
churches call it
Listen,
blessings.
I'm just saying.
Churches call it blessings. And
And
I
then
didn't realize back then that was just people hedging their bets. Like this kid ain't gonna make it, but just in case he does, maybe he'll remember that
that I
time I
did
gave
this for
him.
him. Yeah. Oh,
Because as soon as I came home with and this, of course, this is a very public thing. So it's a huge university, right? Not in
yeah.
size, but in scope. And so it's in like the Tennessean, ineligible player, Jeremy Gales, blah, 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 right? You can
Wow.
Google all this stuff. It's so crazy, right? So literally, I came home and when for people to look at me and say, I knew you were going to make it, it just blew my mind. Like people went as far as to give me free food and gifts and clothes and shoes.
You
And
weren't
as
even
soon
sewing
as,
into me, really. You were just wanting to make sure that you
yeah,
had, like you said, like, okay.
just in
And
case he makes it, I can say that I did this and then maybe he'll give me something in return. And I'm not saying that's everybody. I'm just saying the people who are
no,
willing
it's a
to,
lot of people.
yeah, it's a lot of people. Yeah. And
Come on.
so I literally threw everything away and I basically gave myself over to the enemy, right?
Yeah.
Let's go. I tried that God stuff 18 years. Let's go. Let's go. I
Yeah,
listened,
because
I
it didn't
prayed,
work
I went
for
to
me.
church. Yeah. Yeah. I gave myself over. And it took a long time. And it started off with like, I remember having sex for the first time and thinking like, because me, oh, I'm in love. I grew up on Disney, right? So okay, what do we do now with the relationship? And I remember the girl telling me was like, oh no, we're just hanging out, having fun. College. Like, what do you mean relationship? No, I got somebody else coming tomorrow. And I got a
You
boyfriend on top of that. It's like, it blew my mind.
you grew up on Disney. I took a sociology class
Come on.
about Disney movies. It was women, yeah, and it talked about the effects that Disney had on the woman's rational mind.
Right.
See, yeah. and on society too, even men, like what they're, you know, like how Disney shaped how we interact in our relationships.
Yep.
That's sociology. That's the only class I showed up for. Actually, I actually ditched all my classes and I only showed up for sociology.
But this idea, I come out the woods out of nowhere, singing and looking cool, like, and the
Yeah.
girl is in such a state that she don't even real like she's in love, right? She don't know if this man has a job. She don't know if
Right.
he's got
Nothing.
good intentions. Nothing.
But
But
you
in
got the
Disney,
opposite.
it just always worked out. Like, oh, he happened to be a prince.
It always works out.
She happens to be, she happens to be a princess.
And it's
right?
it's not true all the time.
It's not true.
And you got kicked out of a dorm room and like, I got another dude coming. So you laid with a hoe. Like you laid with the definition in Proverbs 30.
All in my
off the
feelings.
bat.
Mm-hmm.
So the enemy just kept on rejecting you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I blew past all those red flags and was like, no, I'm not going back to God. Like, no, that's a wrap. I did that for 18 years and look what it got me. One small injury, which I could have recovered from, right? I could have kept going to class, right?
Yeah.
There's so many things I could have done, but instead, like even in that moment, I remember the coach coming to me and saying, Vanderbilt has its academic standards. You're not meeting them, which again, another thing that blew my mind about how this college sports academia thing works, right? He was like, yeah, you're not good enough for Vanderbilt because we take our grades very seriously, but North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida are interested in, and you can go there. In my pig-headedness, I was like, no, I'm going to make you work here.
So you could have transferred somewhere else.
Yep.
And continued with your career.
Pride. Nope, I'm going to make you work here.
I'm so glad that you said that because I think pride, and I'm just even in our community, in the Black man, because even if you're fearful, pride is your fall. Yeah. It is our fall. It is. It is why saying that going to Christ is so easy, but it's so hard for a man to say yes to it because it's the pride of saying, okay, God, I really surrender everything to you.
Well, again, I grew up on Disney. Pinocchio goes into the belly of the whale to save the father, right? The prince fights the dragon to get his queen, right? The men always got to show strength. So I did my own interpretation of that, which is, no, you're not going to ship me out of here. I'm going to make it happen. Jamie, when I tell you I was working 8 to 10 hours at General Motors at the time and then paying for class by class and driving up to Vanderbilt 3 days a week,
you were
prideful.
Like you were willing to lose. Like you technically lost it all because you could have just transferred a little bit smaller somewhere else and still could have carried on this.
Yeah.
And I talk about, like, this is good. I talk about when it comes to sports, because we put so much emphasis on sports in our community. I don't like to say that, but we do. Right. Obviously, our little Black boys, but we don't do character building. We don't prep them for the fall or for the moment where everything is not good. I think we just send them out there and we're like, make it. Just make it. Do you get what I'm saying? And so, because if you would have been prepped a little bit, if you would have been like, okay, here's the Bible. This is what happened to Job. This is what you may expect. You want to be humble. You want to humble yourself. So if you mess up here, God is going to give you a way of escape. And he did. He gave you a way of escape.
I blew right past it.
Happily. And blew right past it.
And when I tell you that old J. Cole line, like, how's mama about the money, right? How's mama supposed to teach you how to save your money when she broke and got barely stay afloat money?
Yeah.
How was my mother supposed to tell me what mental health was?
Right. Because nobody ever
she heard was like, Uncle Joe's crazy, right? Uncle James he's just wild. Don't worry about that. Just don't do it. Right?
Yeah.
No real explanation because they had no real explanation. This is why I talk about mental health in a great many of my podcasts, man. And even we've literally broke down sports in one episode, and where we asked the question, what is sports? Like, why is it that, most men after their professional sports career go broke within 5 years?
Yeah, because they don't have money.
Not a little. Most.
Yeah, but you got about an 80%. It is because if somebody doesn't come in and say, this is how you're going to manage your money. This is how we should do this. This is what we should invest in. You don't have anybody around you like that because they don't know how to pick wives either. They don't even know how to pick wives. They get up there, they can have the girl that's supposed to be their wife in high school. This is real. And when they get up there, they'll leave her for the woman that wants them for their money and their fame. Or
because what they're taught. If you think about that environment, man, it's conducive to right now. You spend as much right now, you get the love and attention, you have as much anonymous sex, drugs, and alcohol as you want, right? Although, like, even think about the NFL, like, what's permissible in the NFL versus, or like the NBA, you know, with Ja Morant, right? There was a video of him at a strip club shirtless, a video of him chugging bottles of wine and sometimes a whole bottle of tequila, right? It wasn't until he flashed a gun and upset some of the sponsors that they were like, "This goes against this goes against our moral code."
Well, and
you have to go away for a little while.
But you like how they did that because really we were having that argument about guns in the first place. So really it was just a trigger. It was just used because we were debating about gun rules and gun laws. But if it would have happened at a different time, it would have been able to be utilized. And you have to wonder, why did they utilize that in the first place? You get what I'm saying? Like, anyways.
Because the enemy is taught to do their job, which if you look at major corporations like the NFL, like people have to realize these are corporations.
Yes.
NFL, NBA, NHL, MLS, MLB, all of these are just giant corporations. And their whole, anybody who knows anything about business, the head of the corporation's job, the main job, is to make sure that we take care of the board, right? Or the investors, right? So all we think about it as it's all arithmetic to us. We just need to maximize funds.
Yes.
And anything that threatens that has to go away.
Right. And so like him waving the gun, we don't know if they had an investor who is on the thing, right? That's going against the guns being passed or being against or want guns taken away.
Right.
So we don't know. And so it's like, get him because I'm giving you money, but I'm over here at Capitol Hill trying to make sure whoop is happening. If people start tracing the money, you see what I'm saying?
Careful, follow the money if you actually want to know. But be careful because it's going to lead. Here's my whole thing about the shows, right? It usually leads back to the people's doorstep, right? I mean, because you can look at that Ja Morant situation and go, like, are y'all against guns? No. We didn't say that, NRA. We don't want that fight. We're not against guns.
Right.
He had a gun on NBA business trip, right? Because he was in between traveling. He was in between this game and this game, and he stopped off in between at a strip club and showed a gun. That's not allowed. You're not supposed to have a gun. Second time, he was in his own space.
And still.
So I was very curious to see, well, how are they going to handle this? Because the first time you referenced that he had the weapon during NBA business, which is not allowed and against the rules.
Right.
This time it's what? Some arbitrary rule that says you're making us look bad.
No.
Yeah. But Anthony Edwards and Zion Williamson can, have all this baby mama drama and, all this go on. Nothing. Not even talk. Ja Morant himself can down on social media an entire bottle of tequila. At that point, if you really cared about that young man, you'd be like, whoa, that's not an easy.
If you cared about the people he influenced, you wouldn't let that be seen. Forget the gun. And then I saw people going back and forth like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, if he's an alcoholic, he's got booty bouncing in his face, and that's online. And you want to talk about a gun. But also, what's that other the other basketball player that got caught?
Zion.
The one that just recently got caught with the transvestite or I
don't even know if it was the allegations against Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard. Well, yeah, because there was a transvestite there. Kitty was there. So because the man was upset because it wasn't just him and Dwight. Kitty came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it was three. It was three of them.
Okay. So similar to the P. Diddy allegations, right? Where he's got this prostitute to come in and have sex with his girlfriend at the time, right? What she says was against my will. I was, pressured into doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you hear anything else about that? But they threw Durant over a gun under the bus. But I'm saying this man,
Morant, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it's not hard to figure out, and this is a great thing about looking at everything in a spiritual way with
Yeah.
spiritual goggles. Because let me tell you, I turned those goggles on myself, and boy, oh boy, was it tough.
You
Like
can't turn them off.
the burning away of the dead wood that are my deficiencies is painful.
It
When I
is.
say, "Oh my goodness, I lost my temper here. I got tricked over here. I got scammed over here," like to the point I pressured someone that I, am in love with into, or at least try to, into a situation where we invite someone else into the bedroom,
Oh, did
right?
you try that? Did you do that?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Try it. It
Okay.
failed. Like my wife and I are like, no, we have decided like monogamous relationship, committed, fully committed. But having these conversations about like it always started the same way too, which is so funny. Like, where in the Bible exactly does it say that it's not allowed?
This is where it's beautiful. So when yeah, and it's so simple. In
Yeah,
Genesis, when God made Eve, did he pull out multiple ribs and make multiple women, or did he make one?
yeah. But well, just
I'm just
one.
asking,
Right.
did he make
Just one.
just one?
Uh-huh.
Right? Okay. All right. If you look at even the origins of polygamy, just being real, it was never a biblical situation. It just wasn't.
Right.
Now let's be real. Everybody that God called was not a God follower. So there were still things in their lineage that they did.
Right.
Okay? Right? And
Right.
having multiple wives up until a certain point was one of them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But he always had, but so there was the wives that they chose, and then there's a
Mm-hmm.
wife that God chose. And you can see
Right.
this, right? The
Right.
wife that the lineage goes to, the wife, no, not the wife, but yeah, the wife that the lineage goes to,
Yeah.
the wife that the person that has the child that has the anointing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that should tell you that God designed you to be with one person. He does even orchestrate your marriages if you let him. But if you choose what you want to choose, it's what it looks like. Because there's not one man in the Bible that was used by God that
Mm-hmm.
had multiple women that died honorably.
Oh man. So now we're getting into God's perfect will versus God's
Permissive will.
permissive will,
Yeah.
right? Because like again, he says you don't need a king, but if you do, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna let it
Right.
happen. Like, and it really touches me as a father to say, like, hey, son, just simply ask before you grab it. Otherwise it's stealing. But now I've got to give you your free will, right?
Right.
And I know the joys, the pain I feel when they fail that test, right? Versus the joy I feel when they pass that test.
Exactly.
But I have to allow them to choose to pass it, right? And
Right.
when my son messes up, I still love him, right? I may punish him, but I still love him, and I still have the grace to keep giving him chances, right?
Right.
So the
Right.
idea of like, because people like, I used to like here's what I use. I use Abraham,
Okay.
right? Well, if the wife gave him permission, it doesn't seem like God really punished him for that, right?
Oh, he did though.
Yeah. Well, you gotta remember, this is my I'm a Christian at this point. I'm a Christian on milk, presenting himself as a Christian on meat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm speaking with authority. Like, look to Abraham, right? He didn't really get punished. He actually says, hey, don't worry about you and your son Ishmael. I'm gonna make sure that you become a great warring nation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm giving you a promise as well. But these things have to be done how I want them to be,
Right.
right? And that's the real punishment. You didn't really go along with God. So that's
Right.
that, right? And I'm going through, well, David had all these concubines and just all these examples, right, of people with multiple wives and concubines and all these things, right? And then I thought about like the scientific part of it, of like, well, yeah, if you had one guy left on the planet, and let's say 1,000,000 women,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to take no time to repopulate the planet. So even in my mind, I was using scientifically, this is okay because men are built to be with multiple partners because of that fact alone, right?
Right.
All these things I'm telling myself, right? And then I get all the way down to Paul, who's like, actually, it's best you don't even get married so you can give God your whole self.
Listen,
If you must, go ahead, take a wife. One woman, one man.
and that's it.
Right?
And
So
that's
there it
it.
is. Yeah, I had to back up. I had to back off of that, and I feel like I've been blessed now going that path and trying to go another path.
Because you got your favor. See, you honored her. When you dishonor, and that's one thing people don't understand. When God is very strategic in everything He does.
Yeah.
Sometimes you remember you knew your wife before you knew she was your wife. Think about that. You knew your wife before she was your wife. Actually, you could have ruined it. If she was into you, y'all could have got together, did all this stuff, and ruined it.
Jamie, totally into me. You understand? At one point, like she thought that I really do feel like God is telling me that you're my husband, but I ain't gonna push the issue. And I had in my mindset, I'm not
I would
even
never
gonna get
marry
married.
her.
I'm never
I
getting
don't want
married.
to get
What are you
married,
talking
and I'm
about?
not marrying her. I'm just not even doing that. Like you're not
check
even
this
the
out.
thought.
During the time that I was known as dirty, there were at least, I would say, 2 occasions where in my drunken, drug-induced state, I remember hitting her up and, hey, let's get married. I love you so much. Like, I'm going to take y'all out of here. And blah, 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 blah. Whatever the crap I said, I don't know. Right? Like, and her reply both times was, don't you ever call me like this. Click. Right? And then when I was sober, we had a conversation where she let me have it.
Yeah.
Right? Because
she
Sister Girl was not going to be treated like that ever. Don't call me drunk and high, talking about what you going to do for me. Ugh.
Disgusted. She was just disgusted with
but
you.
still had the grace enough to like approach me as a friend afterwards, right?
Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? So you even with all that you did, you didn't ruin what God had really ordained for you, right? But then you still come in because you're not fully delivered, and you try to incorporate your selfish ambition and will in this. And now that God has renewed your mind in that area, and you're giving honor to the woman that He ordained for you, because He did. That's your kingdom wife. Like you're supposed to be married. That's what I'm saying. Like, so there's certain things when you were around her, you felt favor, you felt peace, you felt love. You probably felt something you probably never did. That's probably why you kind of held on to her. But it was like no, right? But man. That is she's your favor, whether you realized it or not. She's your favor, and that's how great God is. And you could have introduced somebody into it, just like everybody else did in the Bible, and fell in a way, because they did. Abraham got his feelings hurt. The other ones, David got his feelings hurt. You know what I'm saying? His kids messed up his line, and then you have the kid Solomon, who if you have 400 wives and 400 concubines, and then you write a chapter in the Bible that says, please only pick one. Please only pick one.
He's speaking from experience. How often do we do that as parents, right? Do as I say, not as I do.
I know, but he's like really trying to tell you, like, listen, he lost everything. He was so demonized by the time those women were done that he couldn't even think straight. He let them erect altars around, just disrespectful.
Yeah.
So do you want to be like the Proverbs 31, man sitting at the gate where you can brag about the woman that you have because she's bringing you honor? She's doing so much that she brings honor to your name.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or do you want multiple wives because you thirsty and you not healed? Like, I just want to know, like, and it's just real because you're greedy. You're greedy. You're not disciplined. It's just really that's really what it is. We're greedy.
But okay, so in that, I would caution that, right? Because even these great men, it ended how it ended. God's perfect will versus permissive will.
Yeah.
Like for me, I make it a point not to judge anybody, right?
Right.
I can understand being in a dark, dark world, and even though it may not be what God ultimately means for us, seeing a comfort and a light from that. Back in the day, it was preached to us black boys, like, you don't get with the white girl because here's what the white girl's gonna do. It's like, okay, But if I go through like 10 black girlfriends
And
who
you get
treat
done
me
dirty.
poorly, and this
Yeah.
white girl comes along and is very mannerable, she's like worshiping me almost as a god. Like, yeah, I'm probably going to choose that. You
But
know,
that's because we don't have people being trained, right? So again,
right.
like just reference, like
Mhm.
I'm using Titus 2
Oh, not Titus. Oh,
to do I wasn't taught to be a wife podcast, right? But it
uh-huh.
gives a responsibility to people that say they're in the church to teach you how to be an honorable man and to teach me how to be an honorable woman. Now, if we're
Yeah.
not taught that, we're going to default to our natural, nasty, defiant, selfish
Yes.
nature, right? Because
Yeah.
God had to make those laws because we were left to our own devices.
Yeah.
So much so, people started sleeping with animals.
Man. Come
Okay,
on, man.
I'm just gonna say this. Like, so when a man is left to his flesh and his naturalness, he gonna do whatever.
Now, you say a man, we will say men,
No,
right?
no, no, women
Mankind,
and
as in
women, because
mankind.
it was
Yeah.
both, right? I do,
Yeah.
yeah. Like when I say men, I'm talking about generally
Right. Right. Because I mean, you and
man,
I both know, like,
man,
the
yeah.
folks are out there was like, see, always the man's fault. That's
No,
what
no,
I'm
no, no,
talking
no,
about.
no, 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 no. Because women are, you know, I've met some
Yeah.
disgusting women. I've met some not good people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
On both ends. Very not good. You know, where
Yeah.
I'm telling the wife, like, hey, you're not supposed to do that. I'm not married. And I'm like, hey, you're not supposed to, and I'm not the single friend. Like I'm not the
Yeah.
single friend that encourages this behavior. Because
Right.
I have a marriage and like that's coming, right? And so I
Right.
want my marriage to be respected. I can't do this with you. Don't come
It's
over
so
here.
funny you said that. Like, there are times my wife laments to me, and she's a very private person, so she probably hates that I bring her up ever, right? It's such a good example. Because sometimes I feel like saddened that, I didn't keep myself pure, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
now I know that, like, ultimately you were meant for me. So it feels as if everything that came before, I was cheating on my eventual husband.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. And
You,
I felt the same way, like, oh my goodness, that's right. I was cheating on you before I even knew that we were going to be together because I'm meant for you. I really believe that I was meant for you. Yeah.
see, you're right. And
Yeah.
so, that's why we had to be taught how to be these things, how to be chastened, because in you learning what your will is, some people are not supposed to get married. You get what I'm saying? There's some people that are really not supposed to get married. And then there's some people, if they're taught right, you'd be like, okay, let me wait for the one God designed me. Because I
But
do have a
you feel like that's kind
I
of
have
like
a
the
rib out there.
brain?
I have somebody.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like that's the brain kind of
Yeah.
in our discomfort? We come up with these rules, right? These traditions and all these things, right? Because if the Bible says, Adam hears Eve, be fruitful and multiply, and we're supposed to replicate that. Like in my mind, in my heart of heart, I believe that every man has a woman that he's supposed to be with, right? But
Yeah.
again, God's permissive will says that if you're not gonna get right, like here's what you should be busying yourself with in the
Yes.
meantime, right?
Yes.
And like,
Yes.
look, I will allow the murder. I will allow the forcing yourself on each other. I'm gonna allow all this, but I don't want it. Like, it drives me
Right.
nuts when I hear people say like, "Oh yeah, you live this sinful life, but it was meant to happen." It's like, no, God was going to flip everything to
Yeah.
His
What
advantage.
right.
Yeah,
Paul said he will work all things together for his good. So
yeah,
it may not be that you're supposed to go through all of this stuff.
right,
Like if God calls you at 16 years old, right? He tells you, don't do this because this is a part of your story. And you don't go, okay, God, well, what am I supposed to do in the meantime, getting to this story?
right.
And you start to live life in the opposite direction.
Come on, because everybody will go to Joel, right, in the fish. But my
Yeah,
favorite example of that is Samson. Like, here are some rules that you are not to do. He's like, I'm doing all that, man.
all of it. Samson,
And
and I
come
am
on, man.
tripping because she kept on saying, well, what's your secret? If you asking me that, I should be leery of like even talking to you. Why do I keep on
But
laying in
his
your
pride, but I think the lesson in that is his pride and his hubris of like, I know what she's after. Okay, let me tell her this fake thing. And then it came to that happened a couple of times before he actually felt that he was, for whatever reason, I'm under control enough. I can actually tell her.
It said
my
that
weakness.
he was vexed. He said he was so tired. Okay, all right. But she built a trust though, right? A little bit with him, like, I'm here for you. Every time you come, I cook for you. I do what you want, Samson. Everything you need here. You're able to be yourself with me.
The first time, okay, like one of our presidents, George Bush, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I get in trouble for this a lot. He's one of my favorite presidents, not because of the presidency, but just
because of what he said. Go ahead.
Oh my goodness, he literally, yeah. What's the saying in Texas? Maybe somewhere else, but in Texas we say, "Fool me once, shame on you." And he just waits for a little bit and trying to like he was looking for. How does it go again? Fool me can't get fooled again. It's so dumb. It made perfect sense.
Because you're seeing it. You're seeing it. And it's the denial. It's the pride that I have control over the situation. And so if you warn somebody and you're like, hey, you're going down this path, blah, 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 and they go, I got it. Don't worry about it. Right. I can do it. Right. I know what's going on.
Right.
Pray for him. Pray for him that it ain't too bad. That after the smiles and giggles happen, after, because Samson, it actually shows the process of losing your spiritual sight. Mm-hmm. It shows you, Samson's story shows you the process of losing your spiritual sight, because he lost his spiritual sight first.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm a sports guy, so I will put it on like Samson's story is exactly what you said, but for us sports guys is leaning too much on the prowess of your own strength.
Yes.
I'm smart enough to tell her this the first time. The second time, I'm smart enough to trick her again. The third time, he's so exhausted, which is telling us, hey, be careful. Don't even go down that path.
Don't even, because Satan can wear you out. It says that Satan don't never get tired. He don't get tired. But what I was thinking when you were talking, you remember, and it just hit me. You remember when David was little and he was supposed to go for Goliath, and he was like, they were like, what can you do? And he was like, hold on, I killed lions, tigers, and bears. And it just hit me that the reason why God had to wait so long for him to become king was because the reason why Samson fell was because he got prideful in his strength. Now, mind you, David fought off some things just like Samson would have, right? And if God would have allowed him to keep going with that boastfulness, even though he was boasting in the Lord, it would change and become his ultimate demise, just like it was for Samson. Samson lost his strength to that weakness, but sometimes we get prideful even in God. Sometimes we forget and we get prideful in the Lord, and then we become pride. Then we want to be more. We want to do what the devil did and be like the Most High, right?
But that's the same thing that led me to shake my fist at the heavens. And why don't you do it? I would do it this way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't like the fact that I got to waste my time and energy to go to the bathroom, Jamie.
Yeah.
Like if it were left up to me, like we'd eat and never, get fat, right? We'll enjoy the food and it would evaporate out of our pores like a sweet smelling odor. You know what I mean? What are you doing? What are you doing up there, right? That's the same thing as Samson and David found themselves doing. Yep. I think David is a man after God's own heart. It's because he had so much courage against those things because of God. That's how it starts, right? Mm-hmm. Because the first thing he says, like, hey, what are y'all so afraid of? Man, you don't see that dude out there? And he's like, that uncircumcised Philistine?
Yeah, like
that line in the Bible is so important because David pointing out that he was uncircumcised meant that he's not in the fold. He's not under
the covenant. Yeah, he's not
under the covenant. Why you're afraid? He's on the outside. This is easy. Man, give me a rock. Matter of fact, how many brothers he got? Let me get a rock for each one of them too, just in case they want one.
So they want the smoke. Do they want the smoke?
But then later on, that same sort of boastfulness, like, oh, look how beautifully God made me. Like, baby must have been ripped, you know what I
Yes.
mean? But it got so bad that he was looking out for something that he wanted, as Bathsheba's out there bathing, right? That he can, here's what I'll do, my own understanding, right? My own pride, my knowledge. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send for a husband, let them do their thing, send him off to die, marry her real quick. Perfect.
And nobody will know.
Nobody would know.
Nobody's gonna know. And
Nobody
God
would
kept
know.
on stopping him. He kept on giving away escape. He kept on like trying to stop him, and he was like, but he was still humble somewhere. He was still trainable.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, because
so
afterwards he saw his grave mistake and was like, God said, hey, now I gotta kill your son. I gotta do something. I gotta
and
do
then
something.
he didn't get mad at God.
But just like Christ did later on in his bloodline, he's begging God, don't take my son. Don't take my son. Right? All this, prayer, supplication, the ashes, the whole nine, right?
Yes.
And as soon as the
Yes.
son dies, he's like, all right, I tried. Let me shower and move on because I
And
trust God that much.
Yep.
You know?
So you see how okay, we just proved that theory all over
Come
again.
on, man.
So
Yeah.
so okay, how do you want to conclude? Because I know you gotta go.
Okay.
How do you want to conclude
with this. I'm gonna conclude when you talked about sports, especially for men, because I truly believe, I've been talking lately, because in my readings it's been popping up over and over again. Like I'm sitting here saying, hey, as a man, you're supposed to respect me, and I'm gonna make that happen, right? Because I'm a man, right?
Right.
But all throughout the Bible is like, if you want that, you got to bring yourself under alignment and change your behavior if you want her to behave this way. You see, part of y'all's curse, according to the Bible, is that you're cursed to be under the thumb of man. Sorry.
Yes. And
For all you, let me talk directly to your audience. All you ladies out there who are waking up every day like, why am I still dealing with this dude? It's part of the curse. Okay? So bring yourself under alignment and then try to do what God says, which is help. You know what I mean? But for me personally, I love thinking about sports. When I think about sports, it is the training of the brain, right? We do lots of stretching, lots of exercise. It's very disciplined. We have to breathe as we work out in the weight room, as we run. We are taught how to breathe, Jamie.
Yeah.
Workout, running, we're taught how to breathe when we're stretching afterwards to cool our bodies down. Like all this stuff, right?
Right.
And it works, and we're so successful at it that after all that's gone, now we're left to our own device, and it's like it's an implosion, right?
Yeah.
Which is why you see people, do some horrendous things after a life of football or basketball or whatever, because they're lost. They don't realize that what they were doing was meditating and breathing, and they had a goal that they were going after relentlessly, right? They had discipline. And so the people who tend to do well after sports, it looks like they continue that. They take what they learned in football and they apply it to their life after football. Right. And so that is what I want to do, because I need these young boys to understand what it means to be a man.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be this, I'm tough, I'm hard all the time, I'm never vulnerable, right? Because like you said earlier, we have to start checking on the strong, right? Checking on strong men, support each other, right? I feel like if we can get the boys to be appropriate men, that because of that curse that you all fall under, you're gonna follow suit.
Yes, automatically. We technically are only as strong as our leader.
There you go.
Seriously.
So that's what I'm trying to do with my show. I'm trying to very publicly show just how flawed I am, at least to the degree where I'm not absolutely, make my wife just go, oh, you know what I mean?
It's a part of the call, though.
Yeah.
It is. It's a little gut wrenching, because you'd be like, I do not. Okay, God. But see,
ain't nobody business. Don't nobody need to know.
But they'll find out. And so what God is trying to do is allow you to expose you. So the enemy, one, you're accountable, and two, the enemy has no room.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? There's no little thing where you're like, I'm trying to hide that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So there's a standard. You're creating a standard. Your transparency is creating a standard.
Yeah.
I'm telling you not to do it, and I'm not doing it.
That's right. And I've found in my life, like that is so freeing. And I still have a long ways to go. Like this is a lifelong journey I'm on, but I do understand the basic concept of, if I want XYZ out of life, right? Whenever my next Job moment comes, I need to be steady, and I need to have full faith in God that He's going to bring me out of this better than before. Right.
That's a good way to end
And
that.
so for me, it's like, yeah, I want you to see how raggedy my podcast is, but then I want you to see,
The
you know,
growth.
the growth. I want you to see me improve. I want to tell you about, the time that I was known as dirty, so I can show you who I am now and
Wow.
why this side
I
is
would
better.
have never thought.
I know it shocks a lot of people, because
Never.
especially my hometown, people like, he just smiles. He never curses. He never has a bad thing to say about anybody. He's just this happy-go-lucky, goofy guy. And then you
But
hear the dirty story, and it's like, what? Yeah.
yeah, you can get there. You can get there. So I appreciate you coming on. This has been and I think I think it's been the best fellowship moment that I've had in a long time. And I say that because like I don't have a home church that I really go to, but God always seems to bring people, and we end up fellowshipping. And I think even through us talking, we get delivered from stuff that we didn't know that we were still probably, a way of thinking that was not quite Christ-like. You see what I'm saying? So this was beautiful, and I am excited for your journey, and I'm going to help you, when, like, as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But I just wanted, it was good we had that talk, because I understand that, you're on that road, and it's something. It's something, especially when you create that standard,
Mhm.
I'll give you some people to listen to, because they've been going through the same thing too. And these are men
Okay.
creating that standard. You know what I'm saying? And so everybody has the same complaint. And it's not a complaint, it's just the realization that everything you need is in you. If God gave you the thing to do it, it's there. You get what I'm saying? And he'll send the helpers along the way, but just know that those helpers can change at any point. So you never hold on to them for too long.
Yeah.
They're not yours to hold on to. They're yours to sow into and move on. You see what I'm saying? Or them sow into you. Yeah. So life as we know it for us looks like we are on the Damascus Road.
I've been knocked down so many times, man. I'm dizzy.
But we hope that through this, listening to different testimonies, different stories, that you choose to make this your life as you know it. And if not, that you experience life as you choose. But hopefully it ends up in Jesus' name.
Amen to that.
So thank you guys. We appreciate it. Have a good day. Oh, tell people how to reach you and the platforms, and what projects you have upcoming that you want them to really support you.
Yeah, I put it in the private chat. It's funny. I've got 2 podcasts that I co-host / produce with my wife, but really the thing that I'm most excited about right now is the podcast that I'm just producing, and that is the Redeemed Life podcast. Right? I believe
seen
it's
that.
well, it hasn't happened yet. Like,
well, I seen like a page or something.
Yeah.
But that was on accident. You hadn't said anything yet, but I think because you were probably working on it and we were talking. You know how algorithms go, right? I seen like a new project. But go ahead. Yeah. So I was reading it. I was like, oh, that's exciting. So go ahead. Okay.
Oh my goodness, I am so excited. There's a young man. He wrote a book, Incarcerated Thinking, Quentin Mostella, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
He's got a very interesting story, right? He went to prison and then got out. I mean, in prison, as most of these guys do, when you have time to be super still and super focused on, just reading the word and developing a relationship, it's hard to ignore like those voices that you hear while incarcerated. And I'll tell you, I read his book and it made me realize like, oh, I was just as incarcerated as he was, if not more, out here, right up there, right? And it really touched me. And then I had another guy who we had a tragedy happen, and Pastor Jesse here in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
The one you played the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, his testimony was real good. Like I had to actually stop listening to it because I was like, this is going to affect what we're doing. So I just kind of wanted to like not have what he would. I was like, amen, in like within the first 15 minutes, and then I was like, I cut this off, so I had to go back and finish it. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's probably Pastor Pacheco. But this is another guy here in Albuquerque. Yeah, Pastor Jesse Harden of New Creation. His story is like, he was told by God to move out of his comfortable suburban neighborhood and start a church in one of the worst places here in Albuquerque.
Oh
And
wow.
he
Oh, this is
fought
different,
that.
guy.
He fought that hard, and then finally he had to be obedient. He told his wife, and I believe his wife was very, supportive. And like he said, Jeremy, when I tell you, there's times I hear those gunshots and I hear it on the news about someone being stabbed a couple streets over. I'm like, what have I done? What have I done? He says, but when he started the church, he even changed his times from early morning to around 4 because he's like, all the prostitutes and the junkies and everything, that's about the time they're
That's
getting
their
off of
hours.
duty.
Yeah.
So he moved his church time back. He believes in Jubilee, so he takes like a month off every so often to just
Nice.
read. Yeah,
Consecration.
that's right. That's right. And I really implore y'all to look into Jubilee because that's something we're supposed to be doing that could really help. That we have just said nope, and I say we like the royal we,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I got you.
But so anyway, so yeah, he really touched my life in a very difficult time. He allowed me to be angry. He allowed me to shake my fist at God, and he gave me some very graceful words of encouragement. And it just really, I felt the weight lift off. And
Yeah.
so those two gentlemen, we've been working since I want to say August of last year. Now I can
Right.
say last year. Just getting things together in order to release this, and it will be out later on this year. We just started putting little clips out
Mm-hmm.
yesterday.
I seen.
Yesterday,
I
I
seen.
put like 5 clips out just to kind of like they're
Give a
coming.
taster. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
I'm
What the
excited.
Fuck podcast, Urban Academia, both great shows. One
Okay.
is going to be just me. The other one is going to be more interview based. But the Redeemed Life podcast is going to, I believe, change people.
Fire.
Oh my goodness, so excited. So excited. Check us out. You can go ahead, like the page, follow the page.
Okay. And
We're
I'll put
testing out.
them.
Yeah,
I'll put them. Like all your information and all your pages so that they could click the
yeah,
link.
yeah. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate it. So okay, I'm not even gonna pull you out. I'm just gonna say like we're done, and I'm just gonna end the podcast because I'm breaking this up into like 3 segments. So no,
Oh, I
for
just
real.
noticed how long we've been going. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Like I had church. We had a full on church. Okay, we had church before we
Yeah.
even started. So and then we had some more church. But thank you guys. Join me for my next interview, which would be on the 12th, and we'll be talking about consecration. To be funny about that's funny, but we will be talking about consecration. Uh, with my other guest. So thank you guys. I appreciate you. And tune in again for Jay's Morning Coffee live editions on Fridays. Peace out.